Hey everybody, how's it going? Hopefully you guys can see me and hear me okay. Let me scooch over here because there's a whole bunch of people coming in.
Hi everyone.
Don't get hit. Don't get hit. We're almost getting hit by cars.
Tonight's the night. We are doing the May Stringer house.
I'm gonna back up over here. So there are people coming in and we almost got hit by a couple cars, so I had to move out of the way. I'm sorry. So hopefully, let me know if you guys can hear me and see me okay before I start with anything. Hey Sue, hey Kenneth, hey Mom. Hey Mom, hey Bob. Hey Adrian. How is everybody? Yeah, so apparently we thought we were going to be alone. We were told that it was just going to be the 4 of us with the tour guide, but all these people are pulling up, so I don't know. Kind of worried a little bit, but I guess we'll see. Hey Tammy. Tanya is with me. Ghost Mama is with me. She's live right now. She's right there behind me. So I have John. John is also here. Tanya's husband. Hey wifey, how's it going? So we're like kind of on the side of the May Stringer house, so I wanted to go live for about a half hour, 45 minutes to, because they're gonna do like a tour first, and I wanted to bring you guys on the tour so that I can kind of show you guys around. You guys can hear about the history and, you know, learn that with us. And when we actually start the investigation, I'm going to shut the live down and I'm going to actually film the investigation so that I'm going to upload a video for you guys. I'm not going to go live during the investigation. Thank you, Mom. But again, I hope that my signal is good because I don't want to obviously be cutting in and out when I'm trying to show you guys around and stuff. But I want to come over here really quick. We have about 10 minutes or so until we can go inside to start the tour. But over here, there's something called a memory garden. And I heard rumors that there are actually people buried on this property. And I don't know where. I don't know if it's in the memory garden or if it's in the front. But I'm going to come over here where the memory garden is. I think John's talking to the tour guide. Say hi.
Hi. Say hi.
Oh. It's facing. Oh my God.
Oh my Lord.
Oh my gosh.
First bump in the road for the night.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn my camera for you guys. Hey Alan, how's it going? If anybody, hey Joshua, if I miss anybody coming in, hello, welcome. I'm gonna turn my camera and show you guys the memory garden really quick.
Anyway, so this is the memory garden. As soon as she's done, I will go over here and I'll...
No, you can go ahead. Go ahead, you go first.
I will read the plaque to you. It says...
Hey Top Bala, hey Instant Drummer, or Ancient Drummer, sorry. Memory garden.
Is a big plaque, and it says, dedicated to the sons and daughters, that compassionate friends. It's so hard to read, guys. I don't know what it says.
What part?
Hernando County, January 16th, 1994.
Yeah.
So
This looks like it used to be a pond.
This is beautiful.
The resurrection fern.
No planting allowed.
It is really hot here today too, guys. Like, we are sweating our butts off. We just actually came back from a restaurant called Coney Dog. It's like a hot dog place. And it was even super hot and muggy inside of that. We were sitting there. We had a few drinks and we're just sitting there sweating our asses off. But it was fun. It was fun. And we had to kill some time before coming here. If you guys hear thunder in the background, it is thundering. So that would be actually really cool if it started storming and the power went out during the investigation. Oh my God, imagine. Imagine. So I don't know if these are the people that have something to do with this house, because there's birth dates and death dates on here.
This is gorgeous.
Isn't it? It's so pretty.
It is. Oh my Lord. I wish I could have a garden like this.
Yeah.
But it'd be a lot of work.
But yeah, again, this is the memory garden. We're just going to show you guys around the grounds real quick before we go inside.
We're just going to show you real quick.
Because the property itself is huge. And there are people buried on this property. Again, like I said earlier, I just don't know where. I don't know if it's over here in the memory garden. I heard rumor that it could be up front, in the front of the house, which I'll take you guys up there in a minute because it's beautiful up there. Here comes John. Oh, it's like walking through a dang jungle.
You're in the jungle, baby.
Top Baller, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Very, very much appreciated. Guys, please let me know if I happen to cut out at all, if I lose signal.
Sorry, I got sidetracked. If everyone could please let me know if you see or hear anything. Again, timestamp it and put it in the comments below.
Yes, what she said, if you heard her. What she said. If you hear or see anything at all, please let us know and timestamp that so that we can go back and investigate it further. Because this is the most haunted house in all of Florida, guys. Literally. And this house is gigantic. Huh?
Look at this beautiful gazebo. That's what that's called, right? A gazebo.
A gazebo, yeah.
It's gorgeous. And it just fits right in with the house.
Yeah, this was so pretty.
Oh, I didn't see. You got little kids here, little angels.
Where are you?
More angels.
John found the burials. He did. John found the burials.
All right, we're gonna gather along here.
Yeah, because I've been wondering where those burials were. We totally left your husband behind.
Oh.
There's a nice little gazebo over there, too.
Hi, Miss Bonnie.
Hi.
Sonia Rademacher.
Oh, hi. Okay. I came just to meet you, and I'm leaving, so
Oh, okay.
if you'd like to meet.
This is the lady that does the main tours to the house. That's Bonnie.
Oh, it's nice to meet you. You're the one who texted me.
Yes, I am.
She came here specifically to meet us. Oh, look at this. Oh, goodness. Oh, my goodness. Okay. This is creepy. Wow. Look at this, guys. Yep. This is so cool. Oh my goodness. It's right, and right here is like the back porch or like mud room, or I guess you would say. It looks like it anyway. Mosquitoes. Look at that one. Here, let me get out of the way so you can get up there.
I can't wait to get in the attic. I think that's gonna be my favorite part, is the attic.
Yeah, the attic's pretty cool.
Oh, I know, Justy, you love them. And the mosquitoes keep flying in my face. This is so cool. Yes, we can see you. Your mom was wondering if we can see her.
Oh, I can see you.
We can see you. I'm gonna take you guys up front really quick. Look at this house, guys. This house is massive. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Look at this. Wow. Amazing. So there's other people here, like I said. We were under the impression that it was just going to be the 4 of us and the tour guide, so I don't know if they're just here to look at the grounds or if they're coming in too. I don't know. Either way, it's cool. It's cool. But so here's the front porch. Got some rocking chairs up here. Some old rocking chairs. That looks like a church pew over here. Yeah, it is. Oh, here's here. May Stringer House, 601 Museum Court has been placed on the National Register of Historic Places by the United States Department of the Interior. Wow, circa 1856 to 1880. It's crazy. Wow. Look at the little rocking chair. That is amazing. Here's the front door. Look at the old doorbell. I think that's what that was. A doorbell? I don't know. But let me go out by the road so I can give you guys a wider view. I'm actually just turning my phone around. I don't even know if my face is centered because I can't see it because I just turned my phone around, like literally physically turned my phone around, not the screen. So look at this, guys. There's some trees in the way. And then here's the sign here. This house is massive. And again, for those who didn't hear, this is the most haunted house in all of Florida. There's a lot of activity in this house, several spirits. The man in the attic apparently is a very angry, very aggressive spirit. And a lot of people refuse to go in the attic, but bet your booties will be going up there. Oh yes. So Tanya's on the porch now. Isn't it, Adrian? It's so pretty. I mean, you guys know we've been to several known haunted houses before. We've been to the Mirador, which we were at before we came here. We stopped by so I could take a picture of Tanya standing in front of it because she's never seen it. But we stayed the night there, as you know. And, oh, hold on, this lady's talking. Oh, okay. Also, we've been to the S.K. Pierce Mansion. Oh, look at, here's some more headstones. Okay. There's more headstones right here. All right, guys, they're getting ready to do the tour, so.
Something can't happen, so we don't know if you're going to get touched by a ghost or anything like that, but you guys know about that. The liability also, we have steep stairs, stuff like that. So it's pretty simple. Just need your name and signature and the page and the date. There's 2 things we got to sign, so we got to sign into the form.
Apparently we got to sign some waivers.
Or anything, or is it...
We have a little
Because
bit of
apparently
lighting,
ghosts
but
like to
very
touch
little.
you, she said, so we have to sign forms.
Here, we're going to have this little
Yee.
We have one in the parlor. We have the dining room light on, and then upstairs we have a little light for we have a little light for the one of the cabinets, just to light it up a little bit so you can see it. But it is pretty dark.
You want your lights or?
You think I'll need them? I don't want to blind anybody, so no. It'll be okay. I'm live, so it should be okay.
Now, you guys are all signing in. One of the things that we do is we do have a lot of artifacts in the house. The only places that we allow sitting is down here in the parlor and upstairs in the attic. There's a chair closest to this window over here and a bed. I would not suggest sitting on those because one of them went right through it and broke it down.
Oh, gosh.
So it'd probably be not a good idea to sit on that, but we do have like a chair.
Hopefully you guys can hear her. Sign your life away, that's right.
Nobody gets during the actual tour that nobody uses flash photography. But after that, you are able to take photos during it. Just don't use the flash. You can take pictures of anything that you want. And last week we had a very unfortunate incident. One of the people in here touched one of our antiques. It's a 160-year-old doll. Broke the neck with it. We do not want anybody touching any of the artifacts. That happens to be a haunted thing, so they were trying to antagonize the ghost. And so we definitely don't want that to happen.
Yeah, somebody grabbed a hold of one of the dolls, tried to antagonize the ghost that's in the baby's bed. Where they had that dark mist. So somebody touched it and broke its neck. Just trying to antagonize the ghost to come out.
Oh my God, why would you do that? That's awful. Did you put our names on there or no?
Yeah,
You gotta sign it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, that's cool.
bring the whole water for sure.
Step down some more.
You only signed in. Okay.
No,
yeah,
that's not her either.
Okay, this is what we're gonna do after that.
Hey, you want to hold this for me?
Yeah. Sign your life away.
This helps us get grants, so the more people that come in, the better off we have to get grants to help us maintain the house and stuff.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
Because honestly, it has absolutely no insulation, you know, so it gets really hot and cold in there, and sometimes the paint peels because of it, because of the humidity and stuff. So
Oh, wow.
it's crazy. And at one point, this was sinking, so we had the grant to help us level out the foundation a little bit. So,
Right.
There you go.
a little fix. It's a little fix, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Did anybody else need to sign this? And then we're gonna go through this.
And we have to sign it too, I think.
Yeah.
I wish I had brought an extra pen out here.
I got one in my truck.
1 second, guys. We're again signing.
Is he under 16? It wouldn't matter anyways. It's a
Supernatural Lost Adventures. How's it going? Hey, Lost for Words.
you know. Just print your name and the date on each one of them.
There goes John signing his life away. Are you sure you're an adult?
Sure.
I look like one, but I'm definitely not one.
I don't know if he's an adult or not, Jenny. I'm starting to question.
I told you. I got him
Yeah.
You want to sign her name too because she's like videotaping. Go ahead.
You want to sign that?
Oh, I don't.
Always like
Just showing you guys these headstones that I just noticed over here.
She was our tour guide when we came for the day.
As long as you don't get me picking my nose or do anything embarrassing, I'm good.
Well, we're both live right now. So.
Well, I mean, like, if I take a picture with somebody, I'm always like the one sneezing. Look on my face. So.
He usually does that with me. He'll get me when I'm sneezing or coughing.
Or having this stupid look on my
Just,
face.
yeah.
Like, why are they even making that face?
So, was that used for like a dinner bell or something?
I don't know. I don't even think it was original to the house. I think this was put on in maybe the late 1900s.
Okay. And the
So-
house was in 18...
The house was built in 1855.
Oh,
But
1855.
the original part of that second part of the house was built in the 1880s. Something
Still old.
very old.
Very old.
Yeah.
Now
Like I said.
this porch over here was all original, but this side was not.
Okay.
So,
Like I said, if I was rich enough, I'd...
Yes, this is our first time here. We actually have an overnight booking. It's like a 6-hour
Just because I want a
from like
haunted house.
6 p.m. to 2 a.m. or something like that, but that's not until June because you have to wait a year to do that type of investigation here. But we are booked in for that, so. All right.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, it's nice and cool. It's so nice and cool in here.
It is. At least I could see where the steps were.
and it's $20 a person. I'll collect that here.
And I will ask if there's any drinks must stay here, any large luggage type
She's getting it.
backpacks have to stay here, because we do have some small spaces, and if you accidentally turn and hit something, that could be a catastrophe.
Oh, yeah, so true.
No problem. 4 of you?
Four of us,
Okay.
yes.
80?
I can always come back and grab
Yeah,
equipment.
this whole area is gonna be locked and it's gonna be safe, so nothing's gonna happen to it.
Alright, yeah.
You can even put it on this bench back here if you want
There's
to.
40 here.
Honey, you want to put it with their stuff?
My
Here.
video?
Let me move up here so
God.
they can walk
I
out.
was searching for videos and then yours popped up, so I clicked on it.
Which
Watch
one?
it. The one here, I don't know which one it was.
You don't need change.
Yeah,
Hey,
once the tour is
Christy.
over, you can come back and grab whatever equipment you need from there.
Alright, cool.
Alright, so has anybody never been here before, ever? Okay, so if I mess up, you won't even know, so that's fantastic. That's good for me. And you guys have only been on a day tour, right?
We didn't even get a chance to
No?
do a day tour just yet.
Okay.
We did the day tour.
Did you? Okay.
And I also
So-
got touched then too.
There will be some repetitive history, but of course, this is a history museum, so that is first and foremost what we focus on. But we do tell a lot of stories that we don't really tell our guests when it comes to families and children. So welcome to the Maystringer House. My name is Tammy. That's Emma, who ran off with your money. So if you don't see her again, she might be out shopping somewhere. So those of you who do not know anything about the house, the Maystringer House is not a first and a last name like most people seem to think it is, because the house was actually built in 2 separate sections.
That's fine, Lori. Thank you for showing.
So the first part of the house was actually built in 1856 by a man named John May. That's the first half of the name. And he built a 4-room structure for his family to live in, which was only the parlor, the dining room, the 2 bedrooms directly above it. Everything that you see to this side and upwards was not built until after 1880 by a man named Dr. Sheldon Stringer, the second part of the name. And he was a physician, so he ran his medical practice out of the building. He added 10 rooms onto the original 4-room structure. So it is now a 14-room home. You will get to see most of these rooms. One's an office, one's storage. So of course there are some access points that you can't get to, but for the majority of the house you will get to explore a lot of it. So we had 3 major families that lived here over the course of the original structure. We had the Mays, the Saxons, and the Stringers. The Stringer family was here for the longest amount of time. There was 3 generations of Stringers that lived here from 1880 until 1949. In 1950, it became a rental home until 1974. So that's 24 years that a lot of different families moved in and out and brought their big families here for short periods of time. And because of that, we don't have a lot of the original furniture because, of course, when people move out, they take their belongings with them. Unfortunately, in 1974, this is an old house. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on it. So not everybody was able to sink their money into keeping the house going, so it became abandoned until the 80s. There was literally nothing here. It was the shell of a house. The plaster was crumbling. The woodworking needed to be redone. There was layers of linoleum on the floor. Mantelpiece was painted black. It was in really, really bad shape, and they literally wanted to just demolish the building and build a medical complex here. It would have taken all the history, all the stories, all of the memories with it. Luckily, we had a woman in town at that time named Virginia Jackson, and she was a town historian. So she knew all the significance that the house had. So she literally went knocking on people's doors, asking for donations, trying to find volunteers, people that could donate their time, their services, their skills, anything that they possibly could give to keep this house standing and restored to its original condition. And obviously she succeeded, because now we're the oldest restored home in all of Brooksville. We're a non-profit, all volunteer organization, so all the money that we make from you guys and all the events that we do throughout the entire year goes right back into the upkeep and the maintenance and the electric bill.
That's cool.
And because we're volunteers, you know, we're not just here because for a paycheck. We don't have to be here. We donate our time because this is something that we love, and we're all a crazy, a little family, I guess, and this is our second home. Now, back in the 1860s, right when the Civil War was over, there was a lot of interracial tensions. You know, the war was over, the slaves were freed, and not everybody was happy about this. We did have a vigilante group running the town for a short amount of time. They wanted to control basically anything and everything that happened here. They called themselves the Regulators. Now, there was also a man by the name of Arthur Sinclair. Arthur Sinclair was originally the personal servant to Miss Morena May, who is the original woman of the house. When he became a freedman, he became a minister. He did great things for the community. He was an amazing person, but one of the things he did was marry an interracial couple. Now, the Regulators didn't want anything to do with this, so to make an example of him, they found him while he was traveling on the road, and they lynched him. Of course, everything has repercussions, and over the next few months, a number of these upstanding gentlemen wound up dead by various means. One of them, one of the last remaining members of the Regulators, was walking up to the front of the house. Now, keep in mind, in the 1860s, this part had not been built yet, so where we're standing now is basically the front porch. Now, he was walking up to the front of the house, which probably would have been in this area, and as he was approaching the front door, someone rode by on horseback and shot him where he stood. So you guys right here are standing in a crime scene. So,
Oh, wonderful.
so we're gonna move into the parlor. Parlors were used for basically any family gathering that you can imagine, including weddings and funerals, which were both held in this room on several different occasions. There's plenty of space for everybody to come on in. Rooms do get smaller, so don't get used to this. Enjoy it while you can. So back in 1855, that's when John May moved down from Alabama with his wife Morena. They had two daughters, Annie and Matilda. And of course, he built this four-room structure for his family in 1856. He was a contractor, so he was in charge of the construction of the house. And he was a very smart man and did a lot of clever things with the construction to save them on money. Because like today, they were taxed on literally everything. Windows, doors, staircases, you name it, they were taxed on it. One of the things that he wanted to do was have a fireplace in every room. It's a four-room structure, that's not too many, but he also didn't want to build a chimney for each one. So what he did, if you notice in the corner, we have a fireplace at an angle. He built a chimney right in the center part of the house, built a fireplace on this wall, one directly behind it, and then when we go upstairs, you're gonna see two more in the exact same spot, so they're all sharing the same chimney chute. Unfortunately, 2 years after the house was complete, in 1858, John May came down with consumption, which is what we know today as tuberculosis. And unfortunately, even though it's treatable today, not many things were very treatable back then. So if you came down with something that serious, most of the time it was fatal. John May died when he was 25 years old.
Oh,
leaving
wow.
his very young wife behind with their two daughters, and she had to be a very strong woman. She was now in charge of absolutely everything that went on in the house. The crops, the animals, the servants, any family businesses that they were involved in, she had to be basically in charge of it all. And she kept this up for the next 9 years until the Civil War was over. Excuse me 1 second, I'm gonna point to something on the wall. Right after the Civil War was over, another man came to town. This is Frank Saxon. He was a Confederate soldier. He was a flag bearer for the Hernando County Wildcats. One of his jobs during the war was to keep that flag safe at all times. Now, Frank Saxon was actually wounded in battle in Perryville, Kentucky, and then he was captured as a prisoner of war right outside of Atlanta. When the war was over, they didn't have anything to do with their prisoners anymore. They let them all go. All of their prisoners were just allowed to just go back wherever they came from. Frank walked back to Brooksville from Atlanta after the war was over.
Wow.
Wow.
So not only did he survive the war, he made it back home, and as the stories go, he kept that flag safe tucked in his pocket at all times. Of course, now he's a huge local hero. He has a lot of upstanding titles in the community. He's involved in the court system. He was a mail carrier for a time. He was the chief of police. He was the president of the railroad. He built a church for his slaves. You name it, he was either involved in it or he knew about it. Articles suggest he may have had some involvement with the regulators as well. So he wants to start a family of his own. He meets Miranda May, John May's widow. They fall in love. They get married right in this room on Christmas Day in 1866, and they begin to start a family. She gives birth to a little baby boy named Franklin, but unfortunately infant mortality rates were also very high back then. Little Franklin survived to be about 5 weeks old before he passed away.
Aww.
So they try again. She gives birth to a little baby girl this time. Her name was Jessie May Saxon. If you've done your research on the home, her name pops up a lot because we all believe that she is still here with us. Now, little Jessie May was healthy when she was born, but Miranda was not so lucky. She came down with an infection from childbirth. They call it childbed fever. And again, no antibiotics to treat a very simple infection, and she passed away 3 weeks after her daughter was born. Now, Frank's a bachelor and a widower. He has a newborn baby daughter and 2 stepdaughters to take care of. So he, basically, if a man marries a woman with property, her property automatically becomes his. So now this is his land, and he's in charge of it for the next few years. In 1872, Jessie May was almost 3 years old, and then she passes away from unknown causes. We don't know how she died, and that's because the courthouse that her records were contained in got burned to the ground. Articles also suggest that there were some documents in this courthouse that were naming off all the names of the men in the regulators that were involved in the murder of Arthur Sinclair. So they did not want their names getting leaked because they were all upstanding citizens, of course. So they burned the building down. Unfortunately, we lost a huge chunk of Brooksville history because of that. Births, deaths, marriages, household deeds, important documents. Every record from Jessie May, her birth and death certificate, were completely gone. The only way we know she even existed is this one photograph right here. Now, unfortunately, this was also her funeral photo, because you didn't take a lot of pictures of children back then. So if one died very suddenly, you had to take a picture of the corpse, or you would have no memory of that child. She is laid out in her cradle during her funeral right in this very room. Now, postmortem photography was pretty common back then. We kind of think it's morbid today. We wouldn't take a picture of the corpse at a funeral now, but back then this was a sign of respect. You didn't, it was more of a way to pay respect for how they lived rather than mourning how they died. For instance, if you had a soldier in your family that passed away, during his post-mortem photograph, you would dress him in his uniform with his artillery and maybe prop him up in a chair and take a photo of it that way. And a lot of people did this to pay respect to their family members after they passed away. We do have one more post-mortem photograph right behind you.
No.
No? We moved it? Where'd we move it? Oh my God. Okay, this was not like this last week.
No, I got that.
Right here is a photograph of Margaret Stringer, Dr. Stringer's wife. She is deceased in that photo. Of course, she did live a good long life. I believe she passed away, she had got possibly 1908, but I think she caught some illness like pneumonia or something while she was traveling on the road, and she passed away just a few short years after her husband did. Now, since the Stringer family lived here the longest, they were kind enough to donate 3 of their personal family items back to us so we could display them in this room for everyone to see. We have the oil painting on the wall. That did belong to Margaret Stringer and is rumored to hung right in this room. We have the Stringer family Bible on the chair right behind you guys. Not only is it a Bible, but it also contains a number of handwritten records in it as well.
Oh, wow.
And in the corner we have a bookcase, and that is a photograph of Judge Fred Stringer, one of Dr. Stringer's sons, who was a judge, and that is a set of law books that he used during his practice. All right, please follow me into the dining room. military doctor. So if you want to stand by that door and take one in on them. All right, all the way around. Again, there's plenty of room around the table. So this is our dining room. Of course, you can see it's pretty fancy. We don't typically have dining rooms in our houses that look quite this nice, but it was common practice in those days. And dining rooms were used for only formal dinners in the evening. You didn't have breakfast or lunch or just hang out in here. Every night, the family would come down together, be seated at a table very similar to this. They would be dressed in their best dress, and they would eat dinner as a family and talk about their day. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that's gotten away from us over the years, but that's, something that was very common for them. There's one particular artifact in this room that is my very favorite. Hopefully it becomes one of yours as well. Standing right next to me is our 1900s Edison Amarola, and it does play music, but I ask you to cross your fingers and toes because it can be very finicky. It is very old. Sometimes it just doesn't want to play. And usually when I don't tell you to cross your fingers and toes, that's when it doesn't. So if it does, you will actually basically be transported back in time and get to listen to the same type of music that they would listen to while they were living their everyday lives. So you can kind of picture a family sitting around the dinner table. The husbands are smoking cigars, sipping whiskey, maybe playing some poker. The wives are gossiping with each other. The kids are running around the house, just being kids. 100 years ago seems like a long time, but it's really not as long as most people seem to think it is, because they live lives just like we do today, just a little bit more simple. They had jobs that they went to every day. They had work stress, heartbreaks, romances. They did chores. They did their grocery shopping. They had their hobbies. This music might be playing while they were sewing, or even if there was a funeral in the next room. And sometimes we take for granted everything that we see around us, especially in a museum like this, but these aren't just decorations. Every single item that you see, even if it didn't belong to the house itself, we have 13,000 donated artifacts that come from all over the country. And they all have stories and memories, and they all belong to somebody. Every single item in this house was used by people, and some were their very favorite items in the world. The women wore the beautiful dresses. The children played with the baby dolls and the toys. They switched on the lamps before bed at nighttime. They ate from the dishes. And we do these tours not just to be spooky. We love ghost tours. It's fun. It's great. That's why we're here. But we also are doing this to pay respect to the people that came before us. Because you can't have ghost stories without the history. Because who are we looking for? What are we searching for? What are we hunting for? We want their memories to live on because we want other people to remember us and tell our stories as well. And it's a common practice in paranormal investigating to play music, particularly to that time period, because it makes them feel more comfortable and it makes them understand that we know who they are and where they came from. So I'm going to have you follow Emma into the kitchen.
Sorry guys, I know it was blurry, I don't know why. Hopefully that's better. My viewers were saying it was blurry in there.
Everybody? So this room may not look like much,
Did you
but
hear
it
that?
is one of our one of the rooms where we've had some of the most dynamic pieces of evidence that I've ever seen. Now, this was not originally attached to the house. So what you would see back in the day, that would be the exit from the main house. And those stairs were the original stairs that went upstairs, and they were all outside. Now, Margaret Stringer, the last niece that lived here, connected this. This was actually over by the gazebo at one point in time. And this is the original cookhouse, and this is the original kitchen. They would not be cooking necessarily in the kitchen, they'd be cooking in the cookhouse. These were adjacent to us because at one point they had a fire burning stove all the time. So that would just leave that heat that come in the floor, into your house, in the Florida heat, it just made it miserable. Also, if it happened to burn down, it only took away the kitchen and your cookhouse and not your entire house. We know it was over there mainly because of the fact we had some deeds that showed it, but underneath the gazebo is the well, so it made sense to keep it over there. Now, when this was put on here, this would be a place where the family could come down and kind of relax before they got into anything for the day. They didn't have to be dressed up. They could come down and just relax in their nightgowns or their PJs or whatever, and just sit and kind of contemplate what they're going to do for the day. They might have a snack in here. They might have some breakfast. This is generally where they have the breakfast, the lunches, and the snacks. Now, in the 1960s, a really prominent thing happened right in this room. There was about a 10 or 12-year-old boy that was in here, and what did they do? They liked to play with balls. You know, they had a little ball, and he's sitting there bouncing on it, and as you can tell, that would not take long to annoy the living piss out of most people. So his mom's in here, and she turns around, and she goes, "Oh my God, stop. Take that ball and bring it upstairs." Okay, he did what he was told. Walked up the main staircase over there, and when he got to the top of the staircase, there was a woman sitting there in a black gown and a bun in her hair. He's never seen this woman before. And she goes, "Give me the ball." Who's he to say no to? He doesn't know who this person is. He just scaredly gave her the ball. He watched her walk down into the bedroom. She never came out. So he's like, "Okay, I can do this." He walks down, goes inside the room, and there's his ball. And the lady's not there. Nobody ever came out. So when he came on one of the day tours, he told us that it's taken him since he was about 10 years old to come back to the house. And she goes, "Why?" He said, "Because I had to grow up. I had to put on my big boy pants and come back and experience this again." Now in this room too, where I'm standing right here, it was a daytime tour. And the docent, the people that were on the tour decided they wanted a picture, and they wanted a picture of one of the ladies over here and one of the ladies over here. So the docent went over in this corner and took a picture this way so they could get the whole kitchen and the two ladies in it. However, when they took the picture, they had a third lady, which was standing right where I was. She was in a black dress, bun in her hair, sounds very familiar, and she is a full body apparition. And we actually have that photo for you guys to see if you want to see it later on. Now, this house has got a lot of cool things in it too. We have just about every type of spirit that you can imagine. We have residuals, we have intellectuals, and we also have a non-human spirit. The non-human spirit I've seen in this room a couple of times, and basically it looks like a shadow walking. You don't see anybody else with it, but you can see a dark shadow, and it kind of blocks out the window if you walk by it. It's pretty neat. I've seen them on the porch too, and a lot of times when you leave here tonight, right on this porch over here, in this window, or in the front porch, take a picture. You might see them. And it's a pretty interesting piece. So, a lot of things that you can see here, and I suggest coming into here and doing some investigation tonight if you get a chance.
Awesome.
So now we're going to move on into the wardroom over here. So just follow me in here. This is the smallest room.
I heard it when we were in the dining room. Heard steps upstairs.
I'll stand over here. So here in America, we love our Army. We love our armed forces because they are allowing us to have the freedom to be able to do what we're doing today. So this is our tribute to them. And as you see up here, we have uniforms from just about every single solitary war in period times that exists. The only one that is not real is the one that's over here. It's from about 1800s. That's what it would look like for the War of 1812. That's the New York Artillery. However, if you look up here, you see pictures of each person that wore these uniforms. So it gives you some type of actual connection to the men and women that have worn these uniforms in war or in combat. We have a lot of artifacts over here too, which is really interesting. And this happens to be one of the most profound rooms that we have. Over here you'll see on the table over there a 1600s cannon we found in the water. And that was given to us with that mortar shell. That thing weighs a literally ton, and nobody told us that they were going to drop this stuff off. So we came in one day to see a bomb sitting in our front door over there. Pretty interesting. But this happens to have a lot of connected energy to it, and you can understand why. These people probably were sitting in one of the little one of those little dugouts and stuff, and talking to their friend, maybe talking about their wives, what they wanted to go home to, their girlfriends. And yet, here comes some bombs, here comes some gunfire, so they stand up, and the guy right next to him gets shot, killed, right there on the spot. That sits with him. That is a traumatic moment, and that can be connected to any one of these outfits, any one of these pieces over here. So this is where you can get some of these haunted items with it. They've seen the worst of the worst. Not only that, if they did survive, they had to carry that with them. So maybe they survived the war, but they didn't come out without some type of mental scarring, and that has always stuck with them. Now over here, we do have a couple of neat pieces I want to show you. You see these two gas masks over here. There are two different types of gas masks, but they were from around World War I. Now in World War I, we started to introduce mustard gas and chemical warfare. And so the problem with it is that you would die from these gases, but so would your horse. So one of them is designed for horses. Over here we have a Civil War little like dagger sword, which is pretty neat. Over here we have a German knife. We have a grenade that has been detonated, so don't worry about that. We have a little box of cigarettes, and it's from the Philip Morris Company. Now this is how they would kind of de-stress themselves. So you can imagine something like that, as simple as a cigarette, might actually have some attached energy to it. After a long day out on the battlefield, maybe they saw some combat, maybe they didn't. That's how they would chill out and get their nerves, back to normal. We have musket balls and cannonballs over here that have been found outside of Weeki Wachee. So they're very local here. Where they shot, we don't know. Where they shot at us, we don't know either. However, it is a good possibility that they sent a ship, maybe killed a few people along the way. We also have some bullets. And over here, we do have a couple of pieces. These are from like Civil War guns. They're little white bullets, and they weigh about a pound. We have one that's completely crushed. That generally means it was either hit a tree, hit a building, hit a wall, or it hit a bone. So it was very common for that to completely compress if it actually shot somebody. We have this piece of wood. It looks like an ordinary piece of wood. However, what that did was that was a makeshift fence that they put around the graves of the fallen soldiers in the Civil War and kept them there until they could give them proper burial. So that's got to have some type of energy too. A lot of these people didn't know they died. And then one of my favorite pieces here, I know I'm crazy, but I've wanted to buy one of these, but they're kind of expensive. It is a field surgeon's kit. Now, Dr. Stringer was a medical surgeon in the Civil War, so he would have used a kit very much like this. It has bone saws in there because they did do amputations right then, sight on scene, and they had no anesthesia until around the 1870s. So when they said bite the bullet, that was what you did. You bit a bullet, they cut, and you just hoped you passed out. Because that's all you really could do. Or they got you drunk as hell if they had some liquor there. But that still would take a few minutes. The problem with it is that sometimes these individuals, even though they try to save them, they would still die or possibly die from the infections that they would get because they had no way of really cauterizing or sterilizing anything that happened. So it was a chance that they made it through the war, they made it through, they got shot, they got wounded, but they died from their injury. So a lot of energy in here. Now, at one point in time, this was actually in the cook room, the little cookhouse, and this was our gift shop. We had since moved the gift shop over to the other side because all of this was being ruined by the sun. So keeping in here was a better option. However, when we started moving these things, we started to see a lot of orbs. We started to see a lot of like shadow figures walking around in here. Why? They didn't know what they were doing. Were they being abandoned? Were we just completely going to forget them? Were we going to just put them in a corner and be done with them? No, they didn't know that. So when we put it out here, most of that stopped. So we had a lot of interesting things that happened in this room. This is definitely a place I'd say to at least give a little bit of time to when you're investigating tonight. So now follow me over into the doctor's office here.
Oh, it's dark. It's dark, guys. Sorry, it's dark. It is. It is dark, so you're gonna have to listen.
Anybody else?
This is the doctor's office.
So So this is the room that Dr. Stringer actually practices medicine in. And there were surgeries that were performed here. People came in here very sick, some of them on near death's door sometimes. And he took care of them. And it's really neat because we do have, I'm going to try to shine this over here. We have the original exit sign of that Dr. Stringer put up in this office here. So when they would come in the front, he would bring them back here, and they would exit out this side door over here. This happens to have some of the medical, just about every medical field that you can imagine represented in this room. Over here we have a dentist chair, and that is kind of a sadistic chair, because nowadays we're used to like the Dremel being used to drill your teeth. Well, that was a manual one. So when he got that drill to go, he used to have to pump it with his foot. So you know that's a very slow and painful process, and probably a lot of pain that went in that place. That's a torture chair.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely horrified at dentists anyways, so I don't even set foot on it. Over here, we have a surgeon's table that came out of the Brooksville Hospital in 1920. Now, that particular hospital looks similar to this. It was off of Broad Street, and it was a very small place. So literally, it's about a quarter of this house here. So this house was bigger than that. So they needed to really maximize their space, and by doing that, they did this. Now, this thing has it has an x-ray machine on top of it, so they didn't have to go to another room for the x-ray or use extra space to maintain it. Also, it has stirrups, so as you can tell, there's probably babies born right on this table. A lot of Brooksville residents today were born on this table. Wow. Or, well, they're probably not around anymore, but pretty close. And also, it is a surgeon's table, so a lot of people were saved on this table, and a lot of people died on this table. So it does contain a lot of energy. Over here, we have an autoclave, and no, it is not for moonshine, even though it's supposed to be one of the top ways to, cure things. However, what this did was it took out, when they were done with the surgery utensils, they would take it, put it in here, and under pressure and steam, it would sterilize all of the medical components inside of it. Over here, we have just about every type of medical contraptions you would have. Those look pretty sadistic, but those were not for humans, that was for veterinarians. And then you come over here, we have stuff for optical, and then we have your quack medicine. Now, quack medicine, you could not have any type of representation of medicine without that, only because of the fact that they believed electricity cured you. However, it didn't necessarily cure you. In fact, it didn't do much of anything. But if it didn't kill you, which would permanently cure you, you just kind of left with some type of you're saying you
turn the
still have
lights
the
off
same
for the experience.
before. We do happen to have a picture of Dr. Stringer, Sheldon Stringer. This is him here. Like I said, he was part of he was a Civil War surgeon, and then he had his first practice in Ybor City before moving up to here and creating his practice here. And this is his son, Dr. Sheldon Stringer Jr. So for about 40 years, there was a doctor on presence at all time. So that's pretty neat to have. We also happen to have his prices over here. And for $60, he would take off a hip. He would amputate you at the hip. So that's quite a deal, right? But when you think about it, $1.25 back then is all you made for maybe 1 to 2 weeks. So that was almost 6-7 months savings. Now, a neat little fact that we have, this looks just like an ordinary little bottle of medicine. But the medicine back in the day was also had smooth edges, and so did the poison bottles. So the problem with it is that when you went to go get your medicine, a lot of the times you grabbed the poison, and it permanently cured you again. You're dead. You didn't have the problem anymore. So one of the ways that they decided to fix this was your regular medications, you had a smooth bottle, and on poisons you had little ridges on the side. So if you grabbed it, you could tell the difference between the two. The other thing is that back in the day, the medicines were controversial at best. Coca-Cola, our favorite drink, was not necessarily used as just a drink to have. It had cocaine in it. It was used to help some of your ailments. They also used coal to try to whiten their teeth. They used buttermilk to put on their skin to whiten their skin a little bit. They used heroin, opium, all kinds of different things inside of their medicines. And for cough medicine, they had chloroform. So you didn't have to worry about coughing because you were out cold. So that was these are the things that they used to try to cure you along the way. Now we do have a barber chair in here, and I like to point this out because why would a barber chair be in a doctor's office? Barbers were the original surgeons. They would take off moles. They would take off little things. If you got like a splinter caught inside of you, they could remove that. They were actually able to cut you and sew you up. A lot of the times when you had a migraine or something for a long period of time, they would bloodlet. So they would give you a cut, and then they would let you bleed, and then they sew you back up. When you see the barber pole itself, it's red and white. The red stands for bloodletting, the white stands for sewing and patching. So if you were stupid outside and you got yourself badly cut, you didn't have to come to the doctor. You could easily go to a barber and they would take care of it.
Oh, wow.
So now I'm going to send you back out with Tammy. We're going to go upstairs into the master bedroom.
Is there a basement here?
No, we have a crawl space underneath it, but no basement. But we do have 4 floors and it goes up to the attic. So
Nice.
the cool place.
I heard of it.
Somebody go into the bathroom? Okay, you guys can go over there. I'll wait for him and or her, whoever went in there, and follow you guys up. You just don't want to lose anybody.
Yeah, everybody in my live stream's like, they don't have lights? They turn the lights off for the experience, guys.
I'm sorry, guys, I'm not keeping up with chat. Trying to stay quiet for the history lesson.
Thank you. I'm glad you guys are enjoying. This is really cool. After the tour, we get free reign to do an investigation. We're going upstairs right now to the 2nd floor.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, gotta hold on to the railing.
Just taking pictures.
Oh, okay. That's good. It's good to take pictures around staircases because you really never know. Oh, I know. That staircase was so narrow.
Everything is so blurry.
It is. Everything. A lot of things are blurry, and that's probably because everybody's in here. Okay.
How many more am I waiting
Oh
on?
my gosh, look at these dresses. That's creepy.
Super cold in that bathroom when I was in there.
Really?
The lady in white all over the place.
Yeah. Can't get away from her.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Are they in the bathroom or
I believe so.
should we wait a
Wait,
second?
did you go in the bathroom?
Yeah, I had to
Okay.
stand up to get the barber chair.
Do we wait? I don't know where they are.
No, not yet.
Well, now I know how they stayed skinny back
So we're
then.
good.
I know. We're waiting for a few more people to continue.
Yeah, we're waiting. We lost a
We're in a
couple of our
bedroom.
groups, so.
She's got a flashlight, so we'll show you guys some things in a minute.
All the way in. So where we are standing right now is the master bedroom. We are directly above the doctor's office as well. So this is the room that Dr. Stringer built for him and his wife. So this room was not built until after 1880. Of course, since he ran his medical practice out of the house, his wife really wanted her own little sanctuary. So this was her own little hideaway, a place where she had all of her hobbies, her sewing desk, her writing equipment, anything to keep a woman of those days occupied would have been right in here. And they spent many years together. From what I've heard, Dr. and Mrs. Stringer were a very loving couple. So there was probably a number of romantic nights in here as well. Now, Mrs. Stringer was a strict, stern, religious woman. So she does kind of hold that energy that some people kind of pick up on that feel a little bit uncomfortable about. Usually it's the younger girls that work with me on Saturdays that feel a little bit uncomfortable in this room. And I believe it has something to do with her wanting them to be more ladylike, maybe a little bit more like they were back in the day. We have got EVPs from her talking about scripture and religion. Now, after her and Dr. Stringer passed away, their family still lived here. Their children lived on and remained in the house for a number of years. And while her children were adults, when they owned the house, they had a guest staying with them for a short period of time. Now, this guest, his nickname was James, and he was a soldier from World War I. Now, James, before he went off to war, he was engaged to be married. He had a woman that he loved very much, and he knew when that war was over, he was going to come home, they were going to get married and start a family, and everything was going to be great. So while he was staying here with the family, unfortunately, he heard some news that he was not very happy with. The woman he was engaged to wound up marrying another man while he was off at war. Now, this completely devastated him. We don't know why this happened. It could be a number of reasons. It could have been financial. She could have just found somebody else, or it's possible that there was a lot of miscommunication back then. She may have very well thought he died in the war. But whatever the reason, this devastated him, and he was unable to go on after hearing this news. So as the stories go, he went upstairs and committed suicide by hanging. Now we will visit the spot that we believe that would have been the most logical area for this to take place. But he is still here with us, and a number of us have had interactions with James. He is a soldier, he is a protector. He didn't die out of hatred or anger. He killed himself out of love and heartbreak, and he was a soldier as well. So then a number of things he was going through at the time that added to this situation that he went through. But James also has a little quirk, and a number of us, as well as our guests, have had interactions of a very unique nature. James was a ladies' man, and a number of us have been touched inappropriately. He likes to grab butts, he likes to stroke hair. Of course, every time I see somebody interact with him in that way, and I overhear, oh, somebody just touched my butt, you know, first thing I do is run in the room, lay on the floor. Okay, James, where are you? I mean, we have to provoke the activity somehow, right? And nobody ever really seems to mind too much. That's the thing. You know, it took him about 2 years, but eventually I was up here closing up. I was doing the curtains. All of a sudden, I just felt a hand right on my hip. Was I scared? No. First thing I said was, well, it took you long enough. Of course, that's our James. 100 years is a long time. He's probably a little bit lonely. That might be why he's getting a little bit handsy with the ladies. But if he likes you, he will definitely let you know. I've seen it time and time again. So please follow me across the hall. And when we are walking across the hall, you will notice a difference in the floors because we're basically being transported back into 1856.
Is this the hallway you're talking about?
Yes, it was, this was a one that I got touched.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you came up the steps.
And everybody was ahead of me, so I knew.
So this is part of the original 4-room structure, and of course we are a museum, so every room has a different display, a different exhibit. This is our communications exhibit, so we have a number of really amazing communications artifacts. We have switchboards that were actually in use in Brooksville until the 1970s. That phone booth came out of the original Hernando High School. We have post office boxes from Istachata, antique radios, and even a teletype machine in the center. However, when this was still a 4-room structure, this was actually the master bedroom that belonged to John and Marina May, and later on Marina and Frank Saxon. So when John May had tuberculosis, they didn't take people to the hospital in the 1850s to try and make them better. Most of the time, the doctor would visit you at your own home. And you were laid up in your own bed, in your own home, and that's most likely where you died. A very high probability that John May died right in this very room. It's also common practice for them to bury their family members on the property close to the home. Unfortunately, grave robberies were also very common in that time, so they didn't use the cement markers that we're familiar with today. They would use a small wooden marker that would disintegrate over time. And for this reason, we unfortunately do not know where they're buried. We just know that they are here somewhere. Now, the property did extend about 160 acres all the way to the courthouse, but it was more likely that they would bury them closer to the home so everybody would keep an eye on everything and tend the grave sites whenever they needed to. There are some theories. A number of people used to believe they were over by the gazebo, but since that gazebo was built over a well, we can kind of rule that out. Does not rule out that back into the property, underneath or next to the new part of the house, which had not been built yet. Most likely, I believe it's possible that it could be off the front porch area because we have seen some slight dips in the ground which could indicate a potential burial site. Or you could be driving over them in the parking lot when you leave for the evening, so if you hear a tap on your windshield, don't say I didn't warn you. Now, if we point our attention to the windows next to you, you will see a wraparound porch. That wraparound porch extends from the end of the room all the way to the front of the house, and it is original to the 4-room structure. Now, a number of years ago, when ghost tours were first getting started, I'm going to say maybe 15, 16 years ago, there was a group that was here. During a late night investigation, they wanted one last photograph before they left. So as they were walking out of the parking lot, they turned and they took a photograph of the old part of the house. When the photograph was developed, the next day they were using a night vision camera, so it was in the grainy greens and blacks. Not only did they catch the back part of the house, but there was a man that showed up on the porch in their photograph. Now this man was not part of their group and it was not part of ours. So who was he? It was grainy, but we can see some details, some physical features. He was wearing a long riding coat, and he does seem to have some facial hair. His photographs seems to look very similar to the portrait of Frank Saxon that we saw earlier in the evening. Now, Frank Saxon, after Jessie Mae and Marina passed away, he got remarried. His wife didn't want to live here. She came from a wealthy family. Her father bought property about 3 blocks down for them to build a new house on. This was a 4-room structure. It meant absolutely nothing to her, so she wanted a big house and a big family that she could call her own. So that's exactly what he gave her, and he gave her many children as well. Now, Frank Saxon only lived here a few short years and then moved out and lived his life and died over there a happy man with everything he could possibly want in life. Why are people still staying in here? Now, my theory is that even though he had many other children, Jessie Mae was the only daughter he ever had. All of the children with his new wife, Tallulah, they were all boys. She had 7 sons.
Oh my gosh.
So 3 years might seem like a short time to most of us, but it's plenty long enough for father to fall in love with his little baby girl. He protected her, he raised her, he took care of her, played with her, sang to her, and every parent feels responsibility for their children. If something happens to them, even if it's unpreventable, like an illness or an accident, they feel like they should be able to protect that child at all costs. And Frank Saxon was unable to prevent the very untimely death of his little baby girl. So there might be some sense of guilt that he's still hanging on to, and maybe that's why he keeps wandering the porch, wondering what he could have done differently. Now, through this door was the children's room, Jessie Mae's room, and all of the other children's room. It was common for women to give birth in the children's room, so when Marina had all of her babies, she would have been right in here.
Oh my goodness.
This is everyone's
I don't like this
favorite
room.
group of dolls.
Oh my God, that's a beautiful baby.
I don't like this room.
It's because you don't like dolls.
But wait, there's more.
I'm not sure about that window.
The second I stepped in here, I felt
I
something.
keep thinking I see something.
That's me.
The second I stepped in here,
So of course we do have everyone's favorite baby dolls. Everybody loves all the creepy dolls, of course. They're not scary at all. But there's a reason why people find dolls to be creepy or the most haunted objects ever. And that's because child energy is so strong that when a little girl has her favorite toy, it's no longer an inanimate object. This little baby is her little sister, her best friend, her baby. She takes it to dinner, she takes it to bed, she goes to the playground with it, she runs errands with her parents, and this baby doll comes with her all the time. Imagine how many secrets any of these babies have heard over the course of their lifetime. Probably a number of them. Now, it was also common in those days, a lot of children only had one toy. So when you did have your favorite, that just became part of you. And when a child died at a young age, it was common for the parents to save that favorite toy because that brings about the most memories of that child. It was also common practice sometimes that when a child died, the mother would cut off a lock of their hair and sew it into the doll.
Oh
So
my
it would have
gosh.
some of their memories, and yes.
Didn't know about that one.
They didn't do it to all of them, but yes, if you see a doll from that time period with hair that looks lifelike, it probably is. Now we have
That's not creepy.
everyone's favorites here. Again, if you've done your research on the house, you've heard about our baby dolls as well. This cradle itself is over 125 years old. All of them are very old. This is actually our newest. I believe she comes from the 1920s. Yep. And the one closest to the window is one of the oldest artifacts we have in the entire museum. She predates the Civil War, so she's most likely older than the house itself.
Which one?
Her right here.
Oh,
The one on the side, yeah.
okay. I thought I was thinking the one in the middle, but you know.
So she's also our most fragile, our biggest do not touch item out of the entire place, and that's mostly because of her age and the materials she's made with. Her body is made out of cloth and sawdust. Her face is made out of paper mache.
We
her
have a
eyes
doll
are
like
made out
that,
of
yep.
glass. So if you were to pick her up and move her, you would potentially damage her entire body. So she stays in her cradle with her best friends, and there are a number of stories that a lot of people believe that there is a young girl still attached to her favorite baby doll. Now she is not Jessie Mae, she didn't come with the house, she did come with the doll. And it's very possible she died at that age. A number of people have seen her about 5 or 6 years old. When a child dies that young, a lot of times it's from an illness. So maybe she was very ill, and that baby doll was her main sense of comfort that just made her feel better when she wasn't feeling very well at all. Now, if you're feeling a little bit adventurous later on, we do have some objects that you can touch. Underneath the bed, that there is a Tupperware container that contains trigger objects, balls, dolls, toys that light up, things that make noise. Feel free to take them out and play with them. They've all been donated by volunteers and different teams that have come in. Just make sure you put them away if you do take them out, because we do have a crew, another tour coming in after us, and we have a crew that comes in the morning, and we don't want them to accidentally trip over a ball that's inadvertently rolled out into the staircase. All right, please follow me upstairs to the attic, everybody's favorite spot to go.
That's so crazy. Some of you, my viewers, might remember when John and I went live with our doll. She's filled with sawdust.
I don't even see. Why would you?
We'll have to go live again with her maybe in a couple days.
Wow. Okay. More exercise. Getting our cardio on,
Balance is
guys.
off.
And of course, this room is one of the reasons we like to keep our tours small. We will have to move forward just a little bit because everyone has to fit in here. I'll also need somebody to stand right here and be my volunteer for like 2 minutes. Fantastic. There you go.
Ready to volunteer?
You're going to be my Vanna White. We're going to dress you in sparkles.
Sweet. I got the legs for it.
I'm going to ask you to hold this face just like this. Thank
Freaking
you very much.
John.
What's your name?
John.
Johnny. My new friend Johnny is my Vanna White tonight. So he is holding a case. Now again, like I mentioned, we don't have very many items that came from the house itself because it's next to impossible to keep that many items within the house with that many different transitions. But everything that you see in this case was found by a metal detector on the property about, well, let's see, 2016. I would say like 5 or 6 years ago because that's how long it was when I started, but it's a little bit longer than that now. Every single item that you see in this case was dropped by people that lived here, people passing through, visiting the neighborhood, visiting the families, and they were all used by people. We have oil lamps and lanterns. That's from a harmonica, a pocket watch, some money clip. That's a button from a military uniform. We have a horseshoe nail, a spoon handle. That stack of balls is actually cannonballs from a tin soldier, so that's part of a child's toy. Underneath that, we have a piece to a woman's bra strap. Which I would love to know how that got outside.
I don't think I want to.
We have a key, which we can only speculate where it came from. Maybe a door, a trunk, handcuff key, all very good theories. And then we have all of our bullet casings and shotgun shells. Now, were they doing target practice? Were they hunting, protecting their property? Were there sketchy things going on in Brooksville? Well, we'll never know for sure, but that's your 100% proof that multiple guns were fired on the property on several different occasions. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate your help. So if we point our attention to the ceiling, you will see a hatch. That hatch has a plexiglass panel, which is not period correct. It's not original to the house. But that hatch leads to the 4th floor, also known as the Widow's Walk or the cupola, most likely used for ventilation. Now we have 4 large walls, 4 large windows, and if all of those windows were open, the hatch would not be there, and all of the windows throughout the house is open. Now heat rises, and this creates a nice circulation across draft. That, my friends, is early 1900s air conditioning. It's also, unfortunately, the perfect spot for a young, heartbroken soldier to end his life. Now, I don't believe that he heard the news about his fiancée and then killed himself instantly. That's the impression a lot of people get, but we have to understand that some things, every story has more than just one side. I don't think it happened immediately. I think he might have spent days, weeks, months just trying to regain some sense of normalcy and pull himself out, but he couldn't, because we have to understand who he was as a person and what he's just went through. Yes, his marriage has just, gone away from him, and he doesn't have the person that he thought he was going to have, but he was also a soldier. He just got back from a war. He was away from home. He was off at war in a place that he was unfamiliar with. He was seeing gunfire and explosions, and people were dying around him. There was so much turmoil, horrific events that he had to fight through, and he didn't know what was going to happen from day to day. Was he going to make it through the next day? Was his friends going to make it through the next day? Was he going to make it back home? A lot of soldiers, when they're away from home, they do have a memento, a trinket, a photograph that they keep on them at all times to remind them of the loved ones that they have back home. It's very possible that he had a photograph of his beloved in his pocket that he would just look at when times got hard. Maybe she was his happy thought that was just keeping him going. He knew he was going to fight as hard as he could every single day. He was going to be as brave as he could, and he was going to make it back home. And then everything was going to be okay again. And eventually the war was over, and he did make it back home. But now the one person he thought was supposed to be there was no longer there. And even though the war was physically over, it wasn't mentally over. Soldiers don't go into war and then come out of it the same person. They still have the memories. They have the nightmares. They have the PTSD, or shell shock as they called it back then. They are reliving these events every single day. And this is not something that's easy to deal with, especially if you feel like you're alone. So it's very possible that he was struggling every single day, and that was just layer upon layer upon layer. And one day, he just got so tired of fighting, because he thought he was done fighting, but he wasn't. And he just couldn't do it anymore. It was too hard. He was exhausted. He wasn't the same person he was before. So one day he woke up and he decided that that was it. He just couldn't do it anymore. So he takes the rope in his hand, he climbs up that very staircase, climbs himself up to the 4th floor, ties the rope around a beam, slips it around his neck, steps right off that ledge, and he's hanging there struggling and suffering, and he can't breathe, and he's feeling the pain, and he's feeling the pressure, and now he wishes he could change his mind, but he can't, because now it's all over, and we know what happens next. And if we're talking about residual energy, which is basically an imprint of a traumatic event that has happened, that energy doesn't just go away. The energy lingers on for a very long time. And people can pick up on this. And some people feel it stronger than others. Some people don't feel it at all. Some nights are heavier than others. The most common thing I've seen from people is the moment they walk up the 3rd floor and they get to this landing, they just feel different. There's pressure or a heaviness. And I believe if he was experiencing those physical feelings, and people are feeling that in an energy sense, those events might be directly correlated. I have seen people feel dizzy, disoriented. Yeah, it's hot up here. We just climb staircases, but this happens when it's not hot. This happens during the day. We don't talk about this during the day when we're teaching history to kids and families. But yet somehow people still pick up on this. I've had people during the day walk up here and start crying because they instantly feel emotional. And I think I did something wrong. And their first word was, no, it just feels so overwhelming. And maybe it's a coincidence, but how many times does it have to happen? How many people have the same experiences for it to no longer be a coincidence? And as you're walking around the house, you can tell every single room has a different energy, an atmosphere, a vibe. There's so many memories and history that's happened over the last 150 years or so. They've lived their lives and they've walked through these hallways and done so many different things over the number of years that you can pick up on every different feeling that they've had while they were alive. And every room is different. This room is different from the bedroom, which is different from the kitchen. And of course, the attic itself is going to be different as well. Some people love it, some people don't love it so much. So I guess we'll see how the night goes, because that's where we're going next. Please watch your step right here. We can come all the way to the carpeted area on this side. Yes. Oh, there is a mannequin towards the wall.
Oh, it's still in the window.
Oh my God.
We actually like to use him as a Halloween prop. If you guys are not familiar with what we do every October, we transform the house into a walk-through haunted house scare zone. You need to come.
I know, I want to come to that too.
Mm-hmm.
So while we're doing our festival, we like to keep him next to the window and we pull the curtain aside so that when everybody is on the property, they look up, they'll see this creepy mannequin staring at them out the window. Now, I always point him out because if I don't, I'll forget he's there. Because the very first year that they started using him, they had him over on this side. And of course, it takes a number of weeks to plan, set up, tear down, a number of volunteers to pull this all together. And so we basically tear down and then a couple days later, go right back into tours. So when they left him up, they were like, oh, we got tours on Tuesday. We got to take him down. He's creepy. I'm like, no, leave him. He's creepy. Of course, I was going to forget that I said that 2 days later and come back up here. And I got the crap scared out of me. It was my own fault. So, of course, this is our attic. It does have a really interesting attic type hangout vibe. Some people do tend to feel uncomfortable up here. It kind of depends on the night. There's a lot of different energies up here. We also believe that this was not just used for storage. It was common practice in those days for wealthy families to hire people to live with them to do the cooking and the cleaning and taking care of the children. This very well could have been the servants' quarters during the Stringer years because they were a very wealthy family. Now we have a few indicators. Outside this window, you'll see a balcony, and you're not going to have a balcony on a window or on a room that nobody's going to use. We also have a table built into the wall, which would have been used as a vanity table or a nightstand. The bed would have been in that area. You would have had maybe a lantern, a book to read, a hairbrush, a glass of water, anything that you needed before bed and when you moved up in the morning. But most of the activity in this particular room does not center around the people that lived here. It comes from an artifact that was donated to us a number of years ago, which is our most famous artifact, our 1890s theatrical or dresser style trunk. Now, unfortunately, we don't know too much about it. When we had it donated, we were given very little information on it, and we did try and contact the owners a couple of years ago with absolutely no results. Their phone number doesn't work anymore, the address isn't legit. They just basically disappeared off the face of the earth to our records. Now, one of my tours a while back said, well, maybe they knew it was haunted. Yeah. And they just gave it to you guys because they didn't want it anymore. I'm like, well, probably right. Even though we don't know too much about it, we do know that there is a male entity that came with it. And this is one of our most prominent spirits in the entire house. A lot of people don't like him, and that's why he's earned the nickname Mr. Nasty. And he doesn't get along with everybody, and some people, well, they've had some bad experiences. Those of us who work here for a number of years, we know him and love him and call him Gary. I don't believe he's a negative spirit. He's not a demonic entity. I do, though, believe that personalities carry over. If you're an asshole when you're alive, you're going to be an asshole when you're dead. And that's our Gary. He's moody, cranky, sarcastic, and definitely a bit of a prankster. When he targets people, when he scares people, I believe he does this because he finds it amusing. This is just the type of personality that tends to come through during a number of our investigations. We've also found out over the years through EVPs and spirit box activity that he may have been an alcoholic. And of course, the very first thought I have when they say that, I picture him in the back of a brothel somewhere. He's just sipping on his whiskey, brooding about whatever pissed him off that day, and just eventually becomes drunk and obnoxious and takes it out on whoever passes by next, which definitely carries over in our investigations now, because if he wants to interact with you, he definitely will. We have a number of EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon. If you have any recording devices, even if you're taking a video, sometimes these voices and noises that you cannot hear with your own ears will come up on these digital voice recordings. Now please keep in mind that we are on the 3rd floor. Even though we are up high and the first stoplight is a block away, sound carries. And if there's a fight at the gas station, you're going to hear it. So there will be outside noises if you're doing EVPs. You will hear the background noises of yourselves talking. But sometimes when you go home, you put on headphones, you'll hear things that you know you didn't say. Gary likes to use the F word a lot. He likes to curse, he likes to call people names, and he likes to put them down. He also likes to be very interactive, and he's an intelligent type spirit. He's not residual. We've got some very interesting interactions with him. He's made jokes about dysentery and strip poker. He's made comments on my lipstick. Don't touch my effing trunk. All sorts of things he likes to say and do if he's in the mood for it. One of the things that I've actually picked up on here a number of times, I've been up here with a small group doing a little investigation, and we all start to hear somebody walk up the staircase. So I go, peer out the door to see who it is, and there's absolutely nobody there. And I've had this happen on a number of occasions, so you never know what you're going to get. We get footsteps, knocking noises, all sorts of things. Just feelings. Some people just get a really bad feeling, and it could be a very personality conflict, basically, between Gary and the person that he's targeting. So you guys have until 10 o'clock to do your own personal investigations. We have some gadgets downstairs. Emma's going to show you how to use it, and then she's going to help you. If you guys want help with investigations, she'll be stationed up on the 2nd floor area if you need her for anything. I'll be downstairs on the 1st floor if you need anything from me. We will all be around if you have any questions. We just want to make your tour the best we possibly can. So please follow Emma downstairs. The only thing I ask, if you come up here, do not come up here alone, and bring a flashlight. And there are some floorboards towards the end that are not 100% there. And this is literally just for safety precautions only. We'd rather you didn't walk up in a dark space and catch your foot on something that you didn't see in the dark.
Gotcha. Good.
And thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, who's this woman in this picture?
Let's go. This is Catherine. I don't always point her out on tour because I think sometimes
45
when
minutes.
people notice her, that's when she is making herself known. Some people love her, some people don't. She's got a very interesting vibe. Now her story, as you can
Sounds
see,
really
is a little bit different than everything else.
I know.
This portrait was done
How's
in
everybody liking
1970,
this?
and we usually don't
Yeah,
take
people are in and out.
artifacts that new. But she was donated to us by her son 3 months after she died, because he felt she was still antagonizing him after her death through that portrait.
Well, the only reason I remember seeing her when I came here during the day, but when I was back there and it was kind of dark back here, I noticed like there was just like a light back
Yeah.
here, and I'm like, okay, she's kind of.
Yeah, I think that's why I purposely don't mention her,
Not that
because
bad.
I want to see whose attention she gets, because it's a reason for it. And
Please be nice.
I don't think she was a bad lady, but I do
didn't
believe
hear
she's
you.
definitely a free spirit. And as her son says, she
I
was a
will.
witch. So she was involved in some things. I mean, she not necessarily a bad one, but that's just the energy. And I've always kind of pictured, it was in the 70s, you know, so maybe she was like a free spirit at Woodstock or something, just
These flowers,
whatever
yeah.
she wanted to do.
Yep. And this is the bed we can't sit on.
Nope, and that is specifically because it is like a puzzle piece.
Okay.
If you sit in the wrong spot, it will come apart.
And I'll be stuck up here for the rest of my life. Gotcha. Okay.
All right, guys. So
Watch your step, Nick.
All right, now you're going in front of me because it's dark.
yeah, it's dark. All right, hold on one second, guys. I'll turn the camera as soon as we get into some light.
Watch your step.
It's the stairs going down. Coming up is easy.
See, for me, it's going down. It's easiest. All right, guys. So that was the tour. That was really cool. So we have a little bit of time to do our own investigating. So we're going to.
Where are we?
We're on the 2nd floor. I'm going to shut the live stream down. We're going to do some investigating and we're going to film the investigation so that I can post a video for you guys.
Those
So
dresses fucking driving you walk by.
thank you guys so much for watching, and just keep an eye out for the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed the tour and the history and everything. So we'll see you guys later.
Peace.
It doesn't